Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chandra Easton here from StarAstrologyHealing.com, speaking to you this afternoon about the timeline for transmuting of hatred, fear, and ambition. I'm an esoteric astrologer, and this is an excerpt from a series of talks that I've given from the second series. And what we're focusing upon here is Uranus transiting Taurus. And as Uranus transits Taurus, and it takes 6 years, it activates humanity's shadow in very specific ways. And if we know what it is that's being activated, then we can choose to cooperate with this rather than feeling powerless at this time. So the thing that's being activated, I'm talking about fear, hatred, and ambition, and the energy of fear. It's held within my solar plexus chakra, your solar plexus chakra, and the important thing to understand about the cleansing of fear is that we all hold it, and we're human, and we have a timeline for the clearing of it. And if we don't clear our own fear, it will be used against us. And the timeline is July to September 2020. It's already happened. And April to June 2021 already happened. And the third and final activation of the fear by Uranus is October 2021 through till April 2022. Here we are right now. So we don't want this to be used as a weapon against us. We want to be able to liberate ourselves through the cleansing of the fear. And then we move on to hatred. And hatred's been activated by Uranus from July to October 2021, April to June 2021. We're almost there. And the end of December 2021, end of this year, December 2022, through till March 2023. So this is the timeline that we have as a species for the radical transformation of hatred. And that will be followed by a cleansing of matters to do with ambition. Between June and November 2022, that's the first activation. The second one is March to May 2023. And the final activation of ambition is December 2023 to March 2014. Now, of course, every single individual who works to heal themselves and to purify themselves of these issues is removing darkness from the group shadow and removing darkness from humanity's shadow. So many people feel that it's difficult, that the task's too big to overcome the evil that we see in the world, but we can work on ourselves. Listen to the talk, and if you'd like more, go to my website and search From Darkness to Light. Okay. Didn't. Okay, and then Uranus began activating the second decan. This is the fourth head of the Hydra, and this, as you will remember, hopefully, is fear. And the degree for fear is between 10 and 13.3 degrees Scorpio. And I'm still talking retrospectively. We're still in 2020 and 2021. Instead of there just being 2 activation periods for fear, there are 3. The first fear activation period was July to September 2020. And of course we know that fear is an enormous contagion. I guess I would say it's as, if not more, contagious than any pandemic. And so we've had a fear contagion that raised up like a cloud, threatening to envelop humanity between July and September 2020. The second activation was April to June 2021. That's just a few months ago. And the third fear activation is October 2021. That's where we are right now. And April 2022. So you see that the activation of the fear, the deepest fears that I have, or you have, or governments have, or individuals have, has been stirred up between July 2020 through to April 2022. It's almost a 2-year cloud of fear. And from my perspective, it's also fears and lies. A lot of propaganda, a lot of media distortion, a lot of censoring of the truth, a lot of invasion into people's hearts and minds. Fear has been pushed and used as a political weapon, As we know, it's been used as a political weapon down through the ages to control the masses. It's the big stick. Yes. So it's a 2-year weapon of fear, lies, and for many people the challenge is to uncover where's the truth in all of this. You know, things are not black and white. There's not a right and a wrong, a good and a bad, a one size fits all in the midst of this world that we're all living through. So each individual is it's recommended that we search our hearts, our inner reality, to understand and access what is the deepest truth within ourselves, and not simply buy in to any line from anyone else because we're afraid. If we allow fear to be the motivator in our lives, then we will make choices that will be very harmful to us, no doubt harmful to our families, harmful to our nations. When fear is the motivator for our choice, then only harm can come of it. And because fears and lies go together, well, it's very dangerous territory. And propaganda, you know, we've all been able to look back 50 years, Second World War, and see clearly the mesmerising power of fear and nationalism as it was drawn together there for devastating impact, and a propaganda machine like none other. But from my perspective here in the next century, with technology being what it is in the World Wide Web, well, the propaganda of the Second World War is minuscule compared to what we have these days. Yes, and we know that the way of clearing and moving through fear is to search deep within ourselves and to ask for a spiritual connection to the truth, to find inner courage, to find a spiritual anchor, and to love in the face of fear. Yes, very big challenge, and one of the reasons this is so difficult is that fear is one of the heads of the Hydra that the ego will defend with its dying breath. Because as long as we are motivated by fear, then the ego's in control. Okay, the fifth head of the Hydra, hatred, between 13.3 and 16.6 degrees Scorpio. Hatred or great harm. Now this can be harm to yourself, harm to others, harm at the hands of others, harm that happens to you because others are ignorant or fearful. It can be the side effect of hatred, which can be jealousy and revenge and punishment. The most difficult of all the heads of the Hydra of Scorpio, activated 3 times. First activation was July to October 2021. That's where we are now, July to October 2021. So, no doubt, you're all aware of the hatred that has been unleashed around the planet, through the media, hopefully not within yourself. Maybe it's around you, maybe you've felt it within you. For example, I was listening to the radio a week or so ago, and I heard a woman ringing up in a late night talkback radio program, and she wanted to talk about how afraid she was for a family member of hers who was unable to have some life-saving surgery, and then out of her mouth came hatred. So the conversation had started with care and concern for a loved one, and then it had gone into fear that he wouldn't be able to get treatment for this life-threatening operation. She's living in Sydney, that's in the middle of a lockdown. And then it was clear to me that she wanted to blame someone, and then she started mouthing hatred to all the people who were not vaccinated, who were, for somehow or other, in her mind, they were the reason why her loved one was potentially going to die. And she said she wished all those people would be dead. Well, the gentleman who was the radio announcer got her off air pretty quickly, but she cast this fear and hatred out across the airwaves, and that's just one tiny example. And no doubt you've got lots of examples of where fear or hatred, and here we're talking about hatred, is unleashed. You know, we've been greatly concerned about an invisible virus, but I ask you to consider the viral contaminant of hatred. And I ask you to reflect upon where you might feel it in yourself or your life and what you can do. And hatred is the greatest weapon. Fear and hatred together are the two weapons that the ego uses to keep its own survival. And the reason our egos cling so tightly to hatred and fear is because they're afraid that they will dissolve. Just to explain, the light of Uranus sheds powerful light. The light of your soul would, if you would invite it, shed powerful light into your life. Your ego, and my ego, is afraid of this light, afraid for its very life. And the weapon that it uses to defend itself against the light of your soul is hatred and fear. And the timing for the unleashing of hatred is first activation July to October 2021. Second activation April to June 2022. That's next year. Third activation December 22 to March 2023. So in a nutshell, we have the unleashing of individual, group, national, global hatred between July 2021 and March 2023. It's almost 2 years, isn't it? And we are, 6 months? Not quite, 6 months into this war where the ego, the collective ego of humanity believes it's fighting for its life, defending itself against the light of soul and spirit. Is this a battle to the death? Light will always triumph. Just because the deep unredeemed aspects of our personality, our ego, need cleansing, doesn't mean to say that we won't, that the ego will die. It will be transformed and different. You will still be you, but in a better version of yourself, in a clearer, more balanced, harmonious, loving version of yourself. There is no need to be afraid that you will lose your identity if you give up hatred. If we hang on to hatred and use it as a weapon against ourselves or against others, then we are moving in the opposite direction to spirit. We're going to lock ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper down into matter. We've had enough of the lockdowns. The freedom from lockdowns is the surrender of fear and hatred. And it is difficult to do that if we don't understand that we are not the fear and hatred. That we are souls having a physical experience. We are human. We have our fears, our anxieties, our insecurities, our all that defines us as human. But essentially, that's just the container. We are a soul having a human experience. And the challenge for humanity between July 2021 and March 2023 is to voluntarily surrender hatred. Refuse to partake in it in any way, shape or form. Do not harm yourself. Do not harm others. Recognize that the battle for the control of the future of humanity's experience and life and very survival on this earth is happening right now. The tools that we can use, that we can draw upon, are unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, and an acknowledgement and a recognition that we are spirit, a spiritual integrity. So important. In order to neutralise this fifth head of the Hydra, great harm and hatred. The sixth head of the Hydra, and here, did I say, when we're working with clearing the fourth, the fifth and the sixth heads of the Hydra, we're working to cleanse and redeem and lift and purify the astral body. Now this is ambition, and the degree is 16.6 to 19.9 Scorpio. During this period, and this one's all ahead of us, this is the next couple of years. During this period, that I'll give you the dates in a minute, we need to ask ourselves, does the means justify the end? Will I look away and walk past certain bad behaviour because I'm afraid, because I haven't been able to find the strength of spiritual connection within my heart? Am I using means that are harmful to the end? Yeah? We're talking here about principles to live one's life by. So it's important to ask oneself, what is the goals and the purpose for my life? And what is the best way forward to manifest and to achieve that goal and purpose? If we compromise our principles and look away and effectively sanction a bad behaviour because we're afraid of something, then it will come back to haunt us. We know this has happened with, the global issue that's been going for, I'm just trying to think of the name of it, for a few years, with the women speaking out, the Me Too movement, yeah, where for centuries or decades, certain bad behaviour's been tolerated. You know, people have looked away. Oh well, you know, that's how life is. That's the way it's been. You know, we've had very public examples of this in Australia in the government, with the Attorney General being accused of rape, and all the machinations that followed that accusation, and how you know, there's a sense of privilege, and he had ambition, and he had a purpose and a goal, and his means justify the end. So I just use that as an example, just to invite you to have a look at your own life and to ask yourself, what are the principles, the ambition that I wish to live my life by? Yeah? Are these principles based on the heart? Are they wholesome? Can I hold my head up high and say, yes, these are the principles that I will work with? Or will I bow and surrender and cave to either my own personal ambition, or the ambition of someone else, or the ambition of a government? We have to be very, very careful of anyone who says, well, these means justify the end. We have to do this because we must get to that. So I ask you to look around your life and to see where that distorted ambition is, and what are the principles that you want to live your life by, and make choices based on that in the following dates. The first time that the ambition of the sign of Scorpio is activated is between June and November 2022. That's next year. The second hit is March to May 2023. And the third hit is December 2023 to March 2024. So again, we have almost, but not quite, almost 2 years of an unleashing of the ego's ambition all around the planet. And what we pray is that methodologies where the means justifies the end does not become the norm. And therefore what we pray is that the spiritual integrity and the principles upon which one chooses to live one's life are picked up and held aloft as a light by those who are on the spiritual path. Did I tell you that it's 16.6 to 19.9? And in terms of how these, and that's all I'm going to do, I'm going to stop there. There are 3 more of the heads, and they go through the years 2023 to 2026, and I'm not going to do that now because it's too far ahead. But I hope that by outlining this these teachings that you begin to reflect on this cleansing. It's very methodical. There's an esoteric plan to it. Those who are on the or approaching the fixed cross, the path of spiritual discipleship, we have a duty of care to lift our game so that we are not carrying any of these, that we are carrying less. Of course we're carrying some, we're human, but we are carrying less of this density and less of this darkness. We want to be part of the solutions, not part of the problem. We don't want to be part of the contaminant, not the viral contaminant, not the emotional contaminant, and certainly not the pandemics of fear and hatred or wrong ambition. Okay, the specifics of how it relates to you, it's very much in your natal chart. I would recommend, excuse me, that you speak to an esoteric astrologer, because an esoteric astrologer can help lift you to the light of your soul. And somewhere down the track, probably not for quite a while, I will continue on with the 4th in this series of talks. There's been a lot of other teachings on my website. If you go onto my website, starastrologyhealing.com, and you type in Earth's Great Change, you'll see that there are lots of different teachings there on what's been happening. Just remember that the purpose of all of this purification and this disruption is the victory of light on our earth and the raising of consciousness, and as many souls on earth who would choose it. This has been Chandra, Easton. That's all. Bye for now.